I am trying something new in this video. I'm making this video with Zoom software. I'm going to allow you to see my laptop screen as well as my own self off to the side. If I'm doing it right, you can now see my Microsoft Paint graphic. Behold my amazing computer skills. You can see my Microsoft Paint graphic and also me. What I want to do in this video is clarify an Augustine misunderstanding that I don't think I covered on this channel yet, and that is the idea that the city of man in Augustine's thought is politics, or the political community, or the state, or the community of your country. In Augustine's political thought, the city of man is not the political community, and in fact the city of God is not the church either. In fact, the city of man and the city of God are both intermingled in the church, and the city of man and the city of God are both intermingled in the political community. Here's why that is. A community is defined by what it loves, and the city of God is defined by its love of God. The city of God is the community of all those rational spirits, referring here to the souls of human beings, plus the angels who love God. These are the people who understand love of God and neighbor. These are the people who understand that God is the greatest good, the summum bonum. These are the people who understand that happiness is to be sought in God and not in the things of this world and not in ourselves. The city of man is everyone else, everyone who does not understand that, the people who seek happiness in this world and in themselves, committing thereby the sin of pride. The city of man is defined by what it loves. The city of God is defined by what it loves. And the city of God and the city of man are intermingled in both the church and the state, because both church and state have both kinds of people in them. In their eternal destiny, they're going to be separated. God will separate the wheat from the chaff. But at this time in this world, they are intermingled. Oh, and the city of man seeks a perfect happiness in this world. The city of God is wiser than that. It seeks perfect happiness in God, in eternal things. And, of course, eventually this does pertain to this world, because in the eschaton, Christ comes back, fixes everything. We even get the bodily resurrection of the dead, and there is a perfect world achieved. But it's not achieved right now in this world on its own terms. It's achieved with reference to the eternal. It's achieved by God fixing things, and it's achieved only by means of recognizing God is the greatest good, and it's in God that we're supposed to seek happiness. But in this world, we seek as much peace as we can achieve if we are in the city of God. The city of God will make an alliance with the city of man. The city of man is seeking the best possible world, which is the perfect world. It is seeking happiness in this world. The city of man does that. The city of God knows better. It seeks happiness in God, but it joins with the city of man to make this world as good as possible, to achieve as much of a semblance of peace, as much as an approximation of the best world as can be achieved here, while always referring these hopes to something better, to the eternal, referring these hopes to God and looking to God as the greatest good, and remembering that we do not achieve perfect happiness in this life, in this world. Perfect happiness depends entirely on God. So the city of God and the city of man have an alliance, and it will break down if the city of man tries to use the government to force the city of God to worship idols or something like that. But normally they can work together. The city of man can work with the city of God within the political sphere, which is composed of both of these communities. And the church is also composed of both of these communities. So they're intermingled, and let's talk about this Venn diagram. A normal Venn diagram can only have 3 circles, because each circle in a conventional Venn diagram is supposed to divide into 2 sections each other circle. You can't do that with more than 3 circles. The geometry won't work. But in a non-conventional Venn diagram of 4 circles, you can accomplish what you need to accomplish, I think, if you don't need 2 of the circles to overlap. And in fact, city of God and city of man are intermingled in church, they're intermingled in state. Each of them overlaps with those things, with those institutions, but the city of God and the city of man themselves do not overlap. You're a member of one or the other. You might change membership. You might be a member of the city of man today, and tomorrow Augustine will advise you convert to the city of God, also join the church if you're not already there. but you're only a member of one at a time. They don't overlap. And here is a very conventional aspect of the Venn diagramming I'm using here. In Venn diagrams, you shade the empty regions, at least in the logic class use of Venn diagrams. So if we were Venn diagramming dogs and cats, the overlapping region of the two would be shaded to indicate emptiness because there's nothing that's a dog and also a cat. And there's nothing here that is not a part of the city of man or the city of God. There is no rational spirit. There is no person who is not a member of one of these two communities. So this is a beginning of a chart of the church, the state, the city of God, and the city of man. The city of God and city of man both overlap with both of these communities, but not with each other. And we can go a little bit further. We can observe that the city of man has certain people in it. The city of God has certain people in it. Most living people are going to be in one of these three categories. You're going to be a member of the political community, and you're either in the church or you're not, and you're either someone who loves God or someone who does not. A pretty normal way of loving God is in the church, and these people, including Augustine himself, are part of the political community. They're part of the nation, part of the commonwealth. They are members of all three of these communities: church, city of God, and commonwealth. Pagans, non-Christians, are not part of the church, and they are part of the political community and part of the city of man. Now, in the church, you have some people who are hypocrites, and they do exist, and there's a fair number of them. Many people are, in fact, in this category. They're in the church and the political community, but they're in the city of man, not the city of God, because they don't love God, and God will sort out the wheat from the chaff eventually. So most people are in one of these categories. You're in the church and the political community, and you either love God or you don't, or you're not in the church, but you're still in the political community and you're part of the city of man. Now, I haven't studied Augustine truthfully myself quite enough to say for sure whether he would recognize this category, the people who are outside the church and part of the political community and do love God. I think Augustine would certainly advise in the context where there is a church available, that doesn't happen. Salvation happens in the church. That's how it works. God instituted the community of the church for this purpose. But maybe, at least at certain times and places, maybe it's possible to love God and be part of the political community, but not be part of the formal institution of the church. There seems to be biblical precedent for this sort of thing. I'm thinking of Naaman in the Old Testament in First Kings, or maybe Second Kings. The character of Naaman is not part of a community, the earthly community of the church or its precursor Israel, but he is a lover of God, it appears. And similarly, we might say the same of Pharaoh. This is not the Pharaoh Moses knows, this is the Pharaoh Joseph knows in Genesis, not Pharaoh of Exodus, about whom it's possible to reach a much more positive evaluation. But this is mainly only a theoretical possibility, and you can study Augustine's City of God, read the whole thing if you can, and confirm whether he ever specifically addresses this possibility. He's certainly not going to advise that you ought to be part of the church. Could you be part of the church and not be in the political community? Again, this is a theoretical possibility within, broadly speaking, Augustinian thought, that you could possibly be in this state if hermitage qualifies you for this state. Maybe a few hermits are part of the church, part of the city of God, and not part of the political community. I'm not entirely confident we should recognize this, but this is the theoretical possibility I'm mentioning here, and corresponding to that, maybe a smaller subset of those hermits would be hypocrites and therefore actually part of the city of man. These are mostly just filling in the gaps and explaining what possible kind of person could fit in this category. 99.99 something percent of living human beings are going to be in one of these three groups in Augustine's thought. But not everyone in the city of God is living as a human being. In fact, There is a bodily resurrection. Eschatology matters in Augustine, but for now, those saints, those human beings who are part of the city of God, who have died, those who passed on, well, they're still part of the city of God. They're still part of that community. They're just not present here on earth with us. Similarly, the angels are also part of the city of God. And similarly, the other angels are part of the city of man. The city of man and the city of God originally split up when the angels divide, and some love God and some, including Satan and his followers, do not. And these demons or these fallen angels, well, these are the original inhabitants of the city of man. And these are the categories, and city of God and city of man are intermingled in this world in both church and state.